All right, so here we are, really the ending of Hate That Cat by Sharon Creech. So last time, the poem that Jack had written was talking about all of these books that were written with poems telling the story. Kind of like Love That Dog and Hate That Cat. So some of the books that he was referring to, for example, that Dust book by Miss Karen Hess is called The Dust Bowl. And the Essie and Amber one by Miss Vera B. Williams, we actually have back in our classroom. I think it's called Essie is Brave, Amber is Smart. And it's a story about two sisters that's told all in poems. So normally I do read that Vera B. Williams book to my students after this one, but I think this year, because we're short on time and I want to get to another chapter book and hopefully get through it before the end of the year, I'm not going to read that to you this year. But be on the lookout, because there are lots of books out there that you could read that are written in poems kind of like this. And same with, I'm familiar with the Cat Chair poem by Mr. Chris Rashka. Again, he has some concrete poems that are out there in this book that was a compilation of concrete poems by people called A Poke in the Eye. And I think we have that in our classroom too. So even if next year when school starts again, if you're interested in borrowing any of those books from me, let me know. Or you could probably look to see if those are on Epic. I don't know if they are. I didn't check myself. Sorry. And the last thing I love about that poem, one of my favorite lines out of both of these books, I now have a treasure of words in my room. That's the way I feel about reading too. There's lots of books that just give you a treasure of words to always keep in your heart, right? So I love that. May 5th, Silent Sounds of Mom, inspired by Mr. Edgar Allan Poe by Jack. See her hands in the air, waving here, waving there. What flickering formations those compositions dare. How she sings, sings, sings in a swish and a bound, bringing sound, sound, sound to the silence of the air, to the silent tabulation of the hush and the hums of the air, 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 of the humming and the hushing of the air. That's a pretty cool idea, that people who do sign language can bring sound to the air. Neat. And I bet his mom would like that he wrote that poem about her. So again, Mother's Day is coming up. Think about doing something like that for your mom. She would love it. May 9th, Poets' Day. It was grandalicious finding pictures of so many poets and putting them on the wall in our classroom. All those poets looking back at us, and beside them, some of their poems. So many words and images in our heads. And although I wish they were all alive and that Dwayne hadn't written dead next to the dead ones, their words are all still there, waiting for someone to read them. Those ineffable, effable words thrumming like purring in our heads. It's true. When you create something, whether it's a book or a poem or art, those images can last even longer than you can. And that's what makes them so special, right? May 16th, Love That Cat, inspired by Mr. Walter Dean Myers by Jack. Love that cat like a bird loves to twitter. I said, I love that cat like a bird loves to twitter. Love to call her in the morning. Love to call her, hey there, Skitter McKitter. Aww. Didn't see that coming at the beginning of the book, did you? That by the end, he was going to be writing love poems for his own cat. May 19th. The fat black cat has been coming back. No, sorry. The fat black cat has been coming to our back door. She says, as if asking a question. I pour milk in the bowl, and the fat black cat slurps, and then sits back, staring at me, her tail slapping slowly on the ground. Shish, shish. Skitter skitters up and leaps forward, her front paws occasionally landing in the bowl, and the fat black cat licks the top of Skitter's head and then turns and saunters away, apparently satisfied. Aww. Maybe the fat black cat just needed a friend or someone to take care of, right? That reminds me, I gotta pause for a second because earlier today I was walking by my backyard and I noticed something and I took a picture. So I'm gonna pause so I can find it to show you. Okay, so this picture that I took earlier, this is my backyard and some of my patio furniture, and I have my fire pit, so there's some wood there under the little sofa. And that fat black cat that you see right there, that's not my cat. That is a neighborhood cat that has been coming around trailing after my cat, Lulu. So when I was reading earlier and I had to stop and take a break, and I was walking by and I looked out that window and I said, what? There is a fat black cat here at our house too. What a coincidence. So I thought you would like to see that picture. It's like they knew I was reading the book and they just came here to hang out. You never know. May 23rd. Thank you for saying more nice things about me to my parents last night when we read our poems at school. My mother doesn't usually come to these things because she can't hear what's going on. But when you said I could sign for her, this is what she said, signed to me. I love that, Miss Stretchberry. And although I was embarrassed to stand up in front of everyone and sign all those words for my mother, too many eyes on me. And it was very hard to keep up with everyone speaking so fast. When I saw my mother's face, it felt good to me. It felt good to me. It felt good to me. Aww. So another thing that Jack has really grown and changed about is his feelings about his mom, right? Because remember, at first, he was kind of shy talking about his mom. He might have been embarrassed or feeling like he didn't want people to know that his mom was deaf and used sign language. And now he's not only writing poems about her, but he's brave enough to stand up in front of his whole class so that she can be a part of it too. So I love that. He's a good son, a good student, a good pet owner. Sounds like he's a really good person, and he's grown a lot throughout these two books. So maybe think about if you could do something for your mom that might be really, really special and meaningful for her. What might that be? Probably not going to be the same as what Jack had just did for his mom, but think about what could you do that would really show your mom how much you love her and appreciate her. June 5th. This is just to say, by Jack. I will listen for you. I will hear all the sounds in the world, all the delicious, ineffable, effable sounds, all the thrumming and humming and tintinnabulating sounds. I will hear all the sounds in the world, and I will write them down so you can hear them too. Oh, Jack, somebody get me a tissue. So sweet. So he wrote that for his mom, and he's realized that his special talent can make it a special connection between them. So, that's so sweet. And guess what? The end of our two books by Sharon Creech, both told all in poems. So I hope you liked them as much as I did. And I wish we could have read them together in class, but this is almost just as good. So we will wrap this up and we will do one more thing with poetry next week. The last thing I really want to say is that I'd like it if for next Monday, because April is wrapping up and National Poetry Month, so we're going to move on, okay? But if you have a poem that you've written as part of your responses, or just because now you might like to write poetry, or if you have found a poem in another book, try to pick one not from these two books if you could. But if you could look on Epic or in other poetry books that you might have, it can be a serious poem, it can be a silly poem, it can be a famous poem, or a homemade poem, okay? I'd be really interested to see if we could just do a little poetry reading, all of us together. Oops, sorry. And I will ask if you could bring a poem to read, can be either on your laptop or on a piece of paper or in a book, to our meeting on Monday, and then we'll just do a little poetry read together as part of our meeting, just kind of as like a conclusion to all of this. Okay? All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Talk to you soon. Bye.